You know, I mostly talked positive about Thomas and Friends on this channel so far. I mean, what's there to dislike about the show? The charming characters, the well-written stories, the beautiful sets, it's a show that lots of people around the world cherish. Well, not everything is perfect. Yeah, if you've been around the Thomas fandom, then there is no doubt that you've heard about the occasional, many hiccups of the show. From the generic at best and nonsensical at worst writing in the hit era, the mischaracterization of beloved and already established characters, and that time when Mattel completely missed the point of what the show was about and turned it into a show of just cartoon characters doing cartoon things. This franchise has been through the ringer a lot. Does that mean we don't cherish these precious memories with the show? No, but if it weren't for the bad moments with the show, I don't think we'd be able to fully appreciate how good Thomas can really be. But even from when the show was still good, there were still a few duds. But even during the first 5 seasons, I think I can say that there's only 1 or 2 truly bad episodes from each season. And then season 6 happened. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a soft spot for this season, but at the same time, I can't disagree with those who call this the worst season of the golden years of Thomas. It looks ugly compared to the previous seasons, and yeah, we all know why. The narration for both dubs aren't great, and there are some moments where characters just don't feel in character. It's also the only season where I can confidently say that it has more than 2 bad episodes. Despite all that, it still has some of my favorite episodes, plus it introduced Salty, my favorite Diesel character, but I cannot deny that this season is not as good as the previous seasons. And if you ask me, the worst episode of this season, and honestly the worst episode of the whole classic era, is Middle Engine. And I'm definitely not the first one to say this, but I don't think anybody has analyzed this episode in a video for itself. So to appreciate something that is really good, we gotta balance it with something really bad. You know, something that will make us get mad. Make us nice and salty. So let's talk about why Middle Engine is quite possibly one of the worst things ever created by humanity. Also just want to say real quick, since this is my first video of 2026, it really would mean a lot to me if you guys would like the video, subscribe, and comment. I'm pretty sick right now if you can't tell. It starts off with an intro about the engines and what jobs they enjoy doing, and then it shows Duck pulling a train and also pushing a train, thus introducing the concept of a middle engine. Now, I'm not a railway expert, especially with how railways functioned in the 20th century, but I don't think something like this would be allowed on a railway aside from when an engine is shunting. Because if this was happening on a mainline goods run, I don't know, I think there would be issues if an engine is pushing a train while pulling one also. But anyway, Percy is getting a coal train at the smelter's yard. Wait, what? Why is he getting coal at the smelter's yard? You know what, whatever. So Bert shunts a line of trucks in front of Percy, making Percy a middle engine. So, do you remember Stepney Gets Lost? You know, that episode where Stepney accidentally ventures off to the scrapyard and almost gets murdered by 2 menacing Class 08 diesels? Well, now Ari and Bert are just bullies. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this, but honestly, they're just not interesting, and they never really become interesting, especially in the hit era. They don't need to go around attempting murder 24/7, but I would have liked it better if they didn't make them just the diesel version of Bill and Ben. Their liveries are really cool though, like, their toys always look great. So Percy, for whatever reason, goes on with his train as well as the train in front of him slowly, and James makes fun of him for being a middle engine, with Percy clapping back saying James wouldn't be laughing if he was a middle engine. Oh, golly gee, I wonder if that's shadow 4ing anything. But when Percy gets to the coaling plant, Henry is picking up coal and he bumps into Percy, pushing him onto the loading ramp, making the manager pretty pissed off. Okay, first of all, why did nobody tell Henry Percy was there? Second, why does the loading ramp activate? Is it automatic? Because if it's manual, why would you activate it when an engine is pushed onto it when an engine isn't supposed to go on the loading ramp? Also, look at this dude behind the manager, like, bro must have gotten into the unused Welsh coal that was sitting there for years. Also, real quick, I just came across this while watching the episode again just now, but they actually use the same recording of Alex saying coal 6 times in different sentences. Like, the same recording. Like, look at this.
Collecting coal cars with coal cars hunted as coal cars.
Why did they do this? You know what, just for the sake of a bit, I'm just gonna use a recording of me saying Percy, and using that piece of audio for every sentence where I say Percy. It'll probably be around a minute into recording this that I'll get bored of the joke. Anyway, so at the sheds that night, Sir Topham Hatt reprimands Percy for going on the loading ramp, but not Henry.
But it wasn't my fault. It's because those diesels made me a middle engine.
No, it's Henry's carelessness that got you onto the loading ramp. It's not like Ari and Bert were there to push you onto the ramp. James mouths off that he could handle Ari and Bert, and Sir Topham Hatt says that he would do Percy's run to the smelter's yard. So, you got nothing to say about Ari and Bert? No reassurance to Percy that they would be punished? Like, no reprimanding Henry? Nothing? Okay. James arrives at the smelter's yard next day, and also, just want to note here, this shot right here with Bert is used more than once in this episode. James thinks he tricked Ari and Bert for whatever reason. I mean, he didn't do anything really, and Ari shunts a line of trucks in front of James. James refuses to move, and you know what? I kinda agree with James here. He hasn't really done anything wrong, and I think it's time an engine stood up to this middle engine nonsense because the concept doesn't even make sense. Like, an engine pushing a train while also pulling a train on the main line just doesn't sound safe at all. So Sir Topham Hatt decides to finally come down there himself, reprimands Ari and Bert, and orders them to take James's train. It is probably what would have happened if this episode had good writing. No, instead Sir Topham Hatt sends Percy to take the train shunted in front of James, and James's train to where James is supposed to be. The manager asks what James is doing there, and Percy says James is learning to be a middle engine. Why does he need to learn that? He really didn't do anything wrong. Sure, James laughed at Percy and he was being pretty arrogant, but he's not the one who made Percy a middle engine or really did anything wrong to warrant Ari and Bert making James the middle engine. And this is how the episode ends. Yep, not even kidding. There's no comeuppance for Ari and Bert, there's no real lesson, it just ends with James wheeshing steam so nobody can see him. What is the point of this episode? Was there supposed to be a lesson? Because the way the story was written, it feels like the episode was trying to teach some sort of lesson. And even if it wasn't trying to teach some sort of lesson, it still doesn't excuse the poor writing. There's plenty of episodes where there isn't a lesson to learn, but those episodes usually have enjoyable writing, like Ghost Train and Henry and the Elephant to name a couple. And the episode completely falls apart when you realize that a middle engine shouldn't even be done at all because it's not only impractical, but it's also just unsafe. I don't know about the UK, but I've never seen any locomotive in real life pulling and pushing freight cars at the same time over here in the United States, but I have seen 1 or 2 locos pulling freight cars while another loco pushes a train at the back. And no duh they do that. Imagine how much harder it'd be to slow down the train if it were going at high speeds with freight cars in the front and freight cars in the back. Even that aside, its story is just atrocious. Percy is made a middle engine by Ari and Bert, and when Percy brings it up to Sir Topham Hatt, he says he would look into it, but considering Ari and Bert did the same thing to James the literal next day, I don't think he did. I would be able to forgive this episode if it showed Ari and Bert being punished, but it doesn't do that. Like, remember Arthur's Big Hits? You know, that episode of Arthur where Arthur reaches his breaking point with DW and she isn't shown being punished? Yeah, same energy. As for James, what did he do that warranted him being bullied by Ari, Bert, and Percy? I mean, yeah, he was being a bit arrogant throughout the episode, but he didn't really do anything other than laugh at Percy and snap at Ari and Bert, which, who wouldn't if they're well known for being troublemakers and almost committing murder? Like, in Dirty Objects, James was running his mouth to Toby, and due to him not paying attention to the trucks because he was thinking about what he would say to Toby, he crashed, but it was deserved because he was being a prick. In Middle Engine, he just laughed at Percy and also ran his mouth about how he would take care of the diesels, but like, that isn't enough. Also, why doesn't the manager get mad at Henry? Did Henry already bolt before the manager could talk to him? Like, Henry's in the next scene, like right there next to Gordon in the sheds. Percy, you wanna say something? And Sir Topham Hatt is so bad here. Like, he's easily at his worst in this episode. He says he'll look into the incident with Arian Burt, but here's the thing. This is the only scene he appears in this episode. Yeah, so no follow-up, no Sir Topham Hatt saying, "Hey, my bad, Percy, you weren't at fault, and I should have believed you." Nope, none of that. Funnily enough, the next season actually had an episode like this where Sir Topham Hatt doesn't listen to Percy, but he still apologized at the end and acknowledged his mistake. You know, maybe I'll do a video on Percy Gets It Right, because I think it's one of the most underrated episodes of the show. But yeah, bottom line, Middle Engine is the worst episode of the classic era. There's a few other bad episodes from season 6, but this one is easily the worst. But that being said, it's definitely not as stupid as some episodes from the Hit era or the CGI era. And that is the highest compliment I can give this episode. I don't know what I will have to say when I eventually get to ranking season 6, but I'm pretty confident this is gonna be at the bottom. So yeah, that's my review of Middle Engine. It's bad, okay? But before I go, I just want to apologize for not being so active and making videos lately. I recently got a new job and it's been pretty draining, but now that I'm settled into my new job, I think I've got more motivation to make videos. I want to do a ranking of season 4 at some point because I really did enjoy making the last 3 ranking videos, and I've come around to wanting to rank the episodes for the Hit era seasons and the CGI seasons. I mean, I'm sure people will enjoy watching another guy rant about Thomas being stalked by a snowman balloon and also Thomas and Percy delivering a giant balloon. I actually hate this episode. Like, when I was a kid, this was the episode that caused me to stop watching the show for a while. Anyway, yeah, that's the video. Don't buy Postal 3.